Let's talk about Palo Alto Networks' wild ride. This cybersecurity kingpin is a long-time holding for the Travel Trust, and it has been a huge winner for the CNBC Investing Club. But in late July, the stock got clobbered after it learned about its $25 billion plan to acquire CyberArk, another heavy hitter that's all about protecting so-called administrator accounts, the top target for hackers. Wall Street was worried that this deal was a colossal overpay, meant to cover up some sort of slowdown in the core business. That isn't what we thought. We have always loved CyberArk, so I didn't get any negativity. But when Palo Alto reported its most recent quarter in mid-August, well, the company shot the lights out. The stock jumped 9%. I think it can keep climbing, but I want to hear from the man. Let's check in with Nikesh Arora. He's the chairman and CEO of Palo Alto Networks to get a better read. Nikesh, in person. Welcome to Dan Money. It's great to see you. You have been saying some really provocative things. I'm going to go right to it.
Let's do it.
I heard you in relation to Prisma Access browser. You made this prediction. You said this is a tough prediction, and we'll see if I have egg in my face. But I think browsers become real. They will be banned in enterprises.
You're starting with the egg in the face question.
Well, why not? It was one of the boldest predictions I've heard.
I have a lot of respect for, my friend Sundar, Sam Altman, Dario, all these people who are building these amazing models and spending tens of billions of dollars making these models work. And now I hear from them after making all these models successful and with ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama, whatever you have, they're saying we have to build an agentic browser because the browser will do all the work for you. Now, for me, an agentic browser for me as a consumer is great. Next time I come to New York, it can book my ticket, it can get me a reservation, it can get me, an Uber, it can do all kinds of stuff. But that means it has to take my credentials and use them.
Right.
Now, I've been always saying, when you get into agentic tasks, credentials become very important. And your ability and desire to give them autonomy becomes important. Will you let it decide for you? And I think the whole idea of browsers in the consumer space, yes, they're all going to build it. It's at odds with the enterprise. If a browser starts doing things on its own by taking my credentials, as a CIO or IT professional, I want to control the browser in the enterprise space because I don't want it to run loose me. So I think unless there are controls built into agentic browsers, which are oriented around credentials and enterprise security, they're not going to be allowed in enterprises in 24 months.
Well, who's going to tell people that they have to change that?
I think CIOs and CISOs are very aware.
But they don't understand it unless they bring you in. I think a lot of people feel very complacent. They say, oh, it's fine.
As Jim, as I say, it's better to be lucky than good. We bought a browser company 18 months ago, which is a secure browser. I don't know if you saw this morning, another software company bought a browser. I think another one was bought about 3 months ago. So suddenly, every security enterprise software company wants to build a browser. Well, we figured that out 18 months ago for a different reason, but now we're busy pivoting that to make sure we can deliver a secure browser to all the enterprise customers out there.
Well, you also made some great sense. It was also in reference to CyberArk. Right now, we have the equivalent of people, once they're in the building, they can roam anywhere.
Yes.
We're doing that with our computers, too. They can roam anywhere. That seems silly.
Well, look, I've always said, you have to look at cybersecurity from the outcome perspective. If you look at the outcome today, 89% of breaches happen because of credential theft. And if you tell me identity is solved, I got a problem.
Right.
If 90% of the attacks are happening because somebody stole your credential and you're saying identity security works, I don't think it works. It doesn't work because once you get in the building, you're allowed to roam free. And if you do something wrong, we have no idea. You only know that for about 500,000 users, which are called privileged access users, which are controlled and managed by CyberArk or their competitors. I think that needs to apply to every user in the enterprise because every user in the enterprise today has enough credentials to do harm. Or if somebody takes over their credentials, that harm can be done to the company.
Well, tell me what's the value of just being able to go to you and have both a privileged access, PAM, by using CyberArk, or say, well, going to our friend Todd McKinnon at Okta and have a different provider working with you?
Well, I think part of the challenge, Jim, is that the more you keep fragmenting the value chain, the harder it becomes for people to make sense of it. Now you're asking enterprise customers to become sophisticated identity managers because there are three-part solution. Buy part A from one, do a handoff to B, do a handoff to C. That makes no sense. I want to follow the life cycle of a user. I logged into my company network. My company knows everything I did. It's all logged, it's all tracked. And if, God forbid, something bad happens, in a heartbeat, AI can figure out who did it, how it happened, so we can go plug the hole. If I've got to go figure out and say, oh, Jim was in here, but I don't know where he went. Oh, look, he showed up here. it takes a long time to stitch this data together and figure out where the identity issues are. So I think it's time for an identity platform. I think in 18 to 24 months from now, that is where the industry will go. And our job has been to anticipate the inflection point, do something in that space, and go build towards it. So we built XIM when we needed to. We built a SASE solution. I think identity is next.
Now, Udi Makati, who's the chairman of Cyber, came in and, I'm talking about someone I've known for 20 years, and he was the first guy to tell me, you know what, the bad guys look to see who was left. Even in the C-suite, they imitate that person, and if you didn't have us, they would go through. Is it still the case?
Look, it's this, this industry was created 15 to 20 years ago. Right. The identity industry, kind of roughly when cybersecurity started. At that point in time, there was a very simple model. There are 15, 20, 100 people who have keys to the crown jewels, and everybody else is just a regular employee. Unfortunately, today, all of have access to our crown jewels. I have access to my earnings script before you do. If somebody can get into my email and figure out the earnings before there's economic opportunity for them, I'm not a privileged user. So the point is, everybody in the company has some amount of privilege and proprietary information. Everybody needs to be protected equally.
But if we all have to route all the traffic, everything's going to slow down.
Well, that's why we don't have to. That's what CyberArk has done so successfully, is they've figured out a way with the lowest intrusion, lowest friction, lowest latency way possible to figure out a way to manage the crown jewels and manage the access for all of users. I think we just need to take that. They today cover 5% of enterprise. Let's get them to 100%, and hopefully solve the 90% breach problem.
Well, one of the things that Udi always told me, I used to say, no, Udi, listen, what happens when people leave your company? They could go do anything nefarious against you. And he said, because they don't. No one leaves. And there's no one. Yeah. But if they did, I don't think it works very well for them. They don't have anything to get in.
Well, the way privileged access management works is the day you're gone, all your access controls are reconfigured, you're out, you're no longer able to access the company. To be fair, that's true of any identity system. The day you leave the company, it's connected to the HR system and your privileges go away. I think the bigger opportunity is to take the fragmentation of 4 or 5 identity products in a company and put them onto one platform, and that's what we're going to do.
I know they want me to end, but there is something that or the first person to talk about that since I've seen it, Harvey. Now, this is something that is going to revolutionize the industry. These law firms are way far behind. How quickly do you think these things are being rolled out where finally we're getting some agentics that actually are heavyweight and reason?
Look, I think I'm very, very optimistic about AI, Jim. Look, there is a consumer AI revolution. You can see that happening in the model space and all the consumer activities going on. There's the application space, which is just beginning to emerge, things like Harvey, things like Cursor, and there's a whole bunch there's about 1,300 applications which are in early stages to middle stages trying to get adopted. And these are generic applications like SaaS came about. Right. This is AI as a service. So you'll see people putting wrappers, workflow, and making it work. So AI as a service will either be independent of SaaS, and some SaaS providers will find a way of merging that with their capability and having a much better SaaS product. I think enterprise applications are still a little further away, and that's where we're going to see more in the future. Okay, that helps us to also understand the Salesforce conundrum. So thank you so much. Palo Alto Networks PANW Chairman and CEO Nikesh Arora. Huge position for our Charitable Trust. I just wish it were bigger. Mad Money's back after the break.
Still to come, the new healthcare kid on the block joins Cramer to discuss AI solutions, financials, and more. Don't miss Cramer's exclusive with Hinge Health. Next. Don't miss a second of Mad Money. Follow @Jim Cramer on X. Have a question? Tweet Cramer. #MadMentions. Send Jim an email to madmoney@cnbc.com or give us a call at 1-800-743-CNBC. Miss something? Head to madmoney.cnbc.com.